My name is Chris Cook. I'm the Managing Director of the Office of Communication and Marketing at Texas Tech University and Texas Tech Public Media. Texas Tech University is full of great communicators, and together we hope to bring you perspectives and insight that can help you in your field. Communication is what we do every day, and it's intricately connected to our success and failures. This is Communicators in a Cart. If you've had a student in the Lubbock Independent School District, odds are you're familiar with Nancy Sharp. The Tech alumna served as the communications director for the school district and was often the voice on the other end of many notification calls. In this episode, Nancy shares her career background, thoughts on the current state of communications, and what's next for her. Hey, Nancy.
Hey, Chris, how are you doing today?
Good, how you doing?
Great to see you, man.
Good to see you. What are you doing here?
Oh, got a meeting upstairs.
Do you have time before it starts?
Yeah, I got
Catch
a
up
few
and grab
minutes.
coffee real
I'd
quick?
love it.
Okay,
Be
great. Jump in.
In the great card. I've seen this card.
This card, I think we're making it famous. Maybe. I don't know. Let's see, where are we? Forward here.
Here we go.
That's right. When I've had alumni talk to them before, I've asked them about campus and how it's changed since they're gone. And I'm not aging you here or anything like that, but you did go to school here, but you're from Lubbock, so you've seen all this change and this growth.
I have. I actually started at Texas Tech when the MassCom building was brand new. Now that's the MassCom building that's now the Maddox Engineering Research Center.
Right. I can only imagine. I mean, I'm technically an alum from 6 years ago. But I can only imagine the people that grew up here and kind of the pride they feel and
Absolutely.
Just the change over the many years. Nancy, thanks for sitting down and visiting with me. We talked a little bit about your time here and your fondest memories, and since you graduated, which was back in the mid 2000s, right. But since you graduated, you've had you majored in advertising. You said your mother's journalism inspired you to do advertising. You majored in advertising, but your career's been in communications, which they are closely related. But tell me a little bit about when you got out of college, what you went and did, and how this has evolved into your new role with United.
I graduated, went to work for an ad agency, then marketing manager at South Plains Mall for 3 years. We moved off to Midland, and later came back in, and our good friend Bob Duncan was a member of the House and asked me if I would run an office for him. He knew I was interested in politics, and so started that career in politics, really doing communication, community engagement, guest services type things. So a lot of the thread has been woven. I worked for Bob through the House, the Senate, and then went to work for John Cornyn when he was elected to the U.S. Senate. Still very much about telling stories, telling the story of and selling an idea, a product, a person. So that was really kind of the thread. So 14 years in Lubbock ISD, a huge privilege to tell the stories of the students and teachers and the amazing things that happen in classrooms every day, and did that for 14 years. Your
name is synonymous with we're going to be delayed today, or with parents tomorrow school is closed it's a teacher work day on Monday. So your name is synonymous with all these announcements because you introduce yourself every time.
You bet.
And so we're going to miss that. It's going to be a new voice. So far I've heard Dr. Rollo doing those messages, and she's done a great job with those. But yeah, it's we play our answering machine and say, well, it's not Nancy anymore.
It's not Nancy anymore. 14 years. But that was a great communications tool that when I started in Lubbock ISD, there was no mass notification system, and that became a very important tool for school districts and Texas Tech University. So we have certainly seen communication channels change and expand, and a lot of things that are a great asset now.
What one thing, and I've got one too, but what one thing do you think has been the biggest, most I guess the most prominent change, or the one that you think has been the game changer for communications? And it always evolves, but what's been that one big thing?
Well, I've said it before, but I think social media has changed everything. And certainly for students, whether it was in public education and having a phone, they could report what was going on in the hallway before the principal could call and let me know what was going on. So that has been a huge change. There's some really positive things about that as well. But it's also teaching our society appropriate use and what's appropriate. And it's created a whole different need in education to communicate that.
It's almost, and I agree with you, social media, it's almost a necessary evil, but because you can reach so many people, you can do it yourself. There are companies out there, marketing companies that'll do it for you, but social media, that's been a game changer for the last decade, really. So you think about the centuries of media, and just in 10 years, the transformation is unbelievable. So the next 10 years it's exciting to see what's coming.
Every student in a school or guest in your store is a reporter. Before you were working on building relationships with reporters to get a story, but really now every person you encounter is a reporter because they've got that much power in their hand with a smartphone.
It's a challenge when I talk to students. I always, my class doesn't revolve around social media or social media usage or anything like that, but I do take those opportunities to just think before you put anything out there. Because we see it all the time, not just here, but you see it across the country all the time. And a lot of universities are dealing with issue after issue of misuse. And then not just students, anybody that's affiliated with your organization represents you to the general public.
Absolutely, and I think that's another very key important education issue is letting students know it's a digital tattoo. It really doesn't go away, and so you have to learn how to use your words very carefully and wisely, and know that they're going to be around long after you're gone. So teaching that responsibility, but there's also a power in being able to advocate and do lots of good things. So both sides.
I want to go back to when you started working in politics. I have students that ask me from time to time when we talk about, they'll come talk to me individually after a class, and we'll talk about career options and things that exist for them out there, whether it's PR, advertising, marketing, whatever it may be in. And sometimes they ask me, if I do this, I think I want to work in politics, but if I haven't decided yet, can I go do this and then get into politics? What was the biggest transition or difference when you went from agency to working directly with a political candidate?
I think there are lots of different politicians. When I worked for Bob Duncan especially, he was always so much about taking a step back, and it was always about who he was serving and really understanding that you're a servant of the public. And I think that was, he made that such a pivotal part of who he was. And so I think always remembering when you're working in a political arena that you're also a servant of the community, of the state, and working to make sure that you're communicating things and creating outcomes that are for the public good.
And so you've gone from an organization that is, it's one of the largest employers in West Texas, LISD, to United, which is one of the largest businesses in West Texas and in other states, bordering states.
Absolutely. Really a lot larger organization the United family is than people realize. I didn't really realize 18,000 employees, 95 stores across Texas and New Mexico. It's a big organization, but with a very small town community feel, and that's very intentional.
Which I think helps you in your transition, but also helps manage it a lot better.
Absolutely, absolutely. Great organization. That the family, they really mean and they live that every day. So it's been an easy transition.
But you've been on the job for a short amount of time. Have the wheels are they just not stopping? Are they constantly turning?
It's like any organization, it's learning the new acronyms. Education certainly had its own language. Retail has certainly its own language too, and the grocery business is no different. So I'm learning lots of new acronyms, and but again, as we said, the marketing principles remain the same, but that being really loyal, that loyalty, great customer experience, really a huge attribute of United that's it's an easy thing to be willing to tell that story.
Did you ever, during maybe going back to grade school and then in college, you've been in Lubbock your
Almost
whole
all my life.
almost your whole life and
Almost.
career. Did you ever think, I want to go away and get away? You hear that all the time, but people come back. Did you ever think that, or just said, you know what, this is my place?
Well, actually, after my husband graduated from law school and I had graduated from tech, we moved away for a couple of years, but there's something about Lubbock
Right,
that draws you back, and it drew us back home. So we are pretty committed West Texans
Sure.
and Lubbockites.
Well, Nancy, we're glad that you did come back. And I know LISD is, I know Senator Cornyn is, and I know everybody that you worked with is excited, and I know United is excited to have you on board. But thank you so much for joining us.
You bet.
on the
I
show.
appreciate the opportunity, and great communities to get to work in. We're lucky to draw from this area of the state.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Great. Good
Thank
to see
you.
you.